Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be putting on a 520 conversion kit on my baby. I decided to go ahead and do this instead of changing the fairings right away because the truth is I really want to see the difference with the 520 conversion, the fuel mileage difference, the how many RPMs I'm running at a certain gear, certain speed, and so on, and really just the difference in the low and mid-range torque on my baby. Now you guys can see the way we started off, I have a wheel chock up in front. You can see the light right there so you guys can get a good picture of what's going on. But you see that I have a wheel chock. You don't need a wheel chock up in front there. I just use it because it keeps the bike upright very, very well, but you don't really need it. If you have one of these stands up on back here, this will be good enough to keep it up and actually hold it up, and the front tire could actually be down. This is really all you need. And as far as your tools, we're going to come over here to my little tool station, and you're going to need a few things. One, you're going to need a tape measure. We'll talk about that later. You only need one torque wrench. I have two because I'm using a 1/2-inch drive and I'm using a 3/8 drive, but you only need one in all reality, guys. It's just I like to use the 1/2-inch for the axle nut on the rear tire, and I like to use the 3/8 for the nuts on the sprocket and the gear sprocket up in front. You also want to have a little Loctite, guys. Anytime you take nuts off of a bike and you put them back on, or bolts and so on, it's always good to have a little Loctite because you want to make sure they never come loose. These things do vibrate. I mean, especially since these bikes, can hit, near 15,000 RPMs. And we also have a 3/8 ratchet right here with a long drive extension. We have an 8mm Allen head here. I'm using a socket form here or a 3/8 drive setup, but you can use just a regular Allen. We also have an 8mm socket. Always use 6 points, guys. You'll see there's 6 points right there. And we have a 17mm as well. Again, 6 points. Never use 12s or anything like that because they can slip and strip. And then we're just going to use a cordless drill. And I have a nice little 3/8 adapter on the front so we can get it done. So what we want to do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and set up the camera for y'all. We're going to point over here and try to get the show on the road. The first thing you want to do, guys, is you want to start with this cover. You want to take this cover off first. Now, on the 2003 to 2006 CBR600RR, you're going to have your shifting rod right in the way. So you need to get that thing out of the way. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take this nut out. All this is a nut that the shifting lever just swivels on. So let me go ahead and grab my 8mm socket here. Pop that in there, and voila. All right, easy peasy, and then you can just move this thing right out of the way. Now, you can take this thing completely off if you choose to do so. There is a little notch right here that's along the lines of the in-between here is what I'm gonna call it, and that's exactly where you wanna put it at, but I'm not even gonna mess with that, guys. There's no need to. Now, there's two bolts. You have a bolt right here, and you have another bolt right here, just two bolts. And those are those 8mm bolts, so let me grab that 8mm socket. So we're gonna take those out. I'm gonna set my drill down, and we're gonna pop this cover out. You just pull it out like though, and there should be a little steel plate here. You kind of gotta play with it a little bit, guys. You gotta swivel, and you're gonna have a steel plate also. And the steel plate is actually just gonna go fit. It only fits one way, so there's only one way to put it back on. And what I did already is I actually took this thing off and actually cleaned it all out. There's a lot of gunk and oil and all kinds of crap in here. And I went ahead and cleaned it all out. I did that so that way whenever I made this video, it would be nice and clean for you guys so you can see exactly what's going on. And a little tidbit for you guys, a little pro tip, is if you go ahead and put the nuts back in here, okay, so that way you don't lose them, or not nuts, but the bolts. All right, so we have my latex gloves on. I should have put these on beforehand. You really want to have these on beforehand. You don't really need them, but it's nice to kind of keep your hands from getting dirty. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we need to take this nut off. Now, these are torqued down, 40 foot-pounds of torque. We got to go the reverse way on it. And right now, the bike is actually in neutral. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can either put the bike in gear, which I don't really recommend, or what you can do is actually go to the rear of the bike, and you can actually put something in between here, and then the tire will hit, or the rim will hit, and it will stop it from going anywhere. All right, so when you get to this point, you're gonna need a 14mm socket. I'm actually gonna use a 1/2-inch drive 14 socket here. We got a 6 point right here. Because the longer your ratchet, guys, the more leverage you're actually gonna have. Now, the way that I'm gonna do this is I'm actually gonna put my foot on the brake on the right side. This is actually a lot easier with two people, but that's the way I'm gonna do it. I really don't wanna put nothing back here or anything. I'm just afraid I might, hurt my rim. You never know. So I'm just gonna play it safe and try to do it this way, and hopefully this will work out. So let's jump over here. Let's hit my rear brake and pop this baby on there, and booyah. Now I already loosened it up a little bit, guys, okay? And we'll grab a little 14mm socket right here, plug that baby in there, and this will just be an easy way to take it off. All right. So we have the washer and the nut right here. We're gonna leave it exactly like it is. We're gonna set that down. All right, so now that we got this thing completely loose and off, what we wanna do now is we wanna break the chain. So I'm gonna pull the camera over here. We're gonna aim it right at yonder so you guys can see what we're doing here. I'm actually gonna try to get a better angle for you. There you go. Try to aim that down a little bit there so you guys can see what we're doing. Now, whenever you're using I'm gonna be using the Motion Pro kit here. This is your Motion Pro kit. You're gonna have this here little guy that's gonna go inside here. So the way this works is when you buy this little thing, all right, you'll have a pin and a spring, okay? So you wanna put the spring in there, all right? You wanna put this pin in there, and I'm using the little thicker pin here. Okay, I know that looked a little blurry. And then we're gonna put this back in there. We're gonna tighten it up a little bit. And as you can see, if you look to the bottom here, if I can get my camera angle right, you can see the little rod sitting inside there. And what you wanna do is you want to aim, you wanna get the circumference here around the edge here. So let me kinda do this little number. We want to tighten up this guy here, and you want to make sure that this is flush on both sides. So let me show you what I'm talking about. See how that looks right there? You see how I have this pushed all the way to the side, and this here too, right? It might look a little blurry, right? But that's how you want it to look. You want the screw here and the flat end to be completely around these little rod rivets here, these little rod rivets, okay? Or these little pins is what we want, right? We want this go around that pin, and we want the back end to go around the pin because there's a hole in the back end of this to where the pin's gonna be pushed straight through. That's how we're gonna break this baby, all right? So what we wanna do now is we want to tighten up this little guy, okay? Where there's a little rod that you get with your kit. I'm gonna pull this up here for you, okay? Kind of tilt that up a little bit there, all right? This little guy right here, which we need to put on the back end. This is how we can hold on to it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a little socket for this here. This is actually a 14. All right, now we're gonna back up a little bit. Now, it really doesn't matter if we do much damage, to be honest, because we're taking this off, right? It really doesn't matter a whole lot. You can see it is going through, so let's put that back up there. Make sure this is good and centered. There we go, there we go. Oh yeah, nice and loose. Going right through there. We're pushing that pin through the other side. All right, and now there's no pressure, okay? Once you have no pressure, guys, that means you push it all the way through. So we're gonna back it out. And there we go. And boom. Pin's broke. Done. And there's that pin right there. And once you take that out, all you literally got to do is make sure your chain's good and straight and roll that baby right off. Just pull it right on out. And done. Easy peasy, guys. Easy peasy. All right? All right, now the next thing that we need to do. So we're going to come back up here and we're going to take a look at our sprocket setup, okay? There we go. Now this sprocket is going to pull right off. What I want you guys to pay attention to is the way it looks. You see those numbers sticking out there? All right, when you buy a 520 conversion, you're not going to have that. So you got to do things a little bit different here, okay? Okay, so here we have this thing here. Now the numbers are pointing out like so. And if you guys notice, if you look at this thing from the side, you'll notice that the depth here and the depth here is actually slightly different. You want to make sure that this thing is on the correct way. Now, how do you do that? Well, what you want to do is you want to take off this one here, okay? And we know this is facing out. We know these numbers are facing out. We're going to pull that sucker off, okay? All right. See, there's no numbers on this side, so we know numbers on this side, okay? And what we want to do is break out the tape measure. So I'm going to bring the camera over here and show you guys exactly what we're going to do here. So what we want to do is we want to measure from here. We want to measure from here up, okay? We want to take a tape measure. Let me grab my tape measure here. And we're going to measure. It's hard to see with this, using the camera and all at the same time. But what I'm doing is I'm measuring from the bottom of the table to the bottom of where the gear starts. I'm measuring from the bottom of the table to where the bottom of the gear starts. So we put this in there, and as you guys can see, it looks like it's about 3/16. If I spin this thing over, now it looks like about 1/4 of an inch. So we definitely want this flipped over. So it's actually pretty cool to know that the words are actually on the right side. So remember, this gear was pointing in like this, okay, on the bike. So we want to make sure this is going to be the same way. So we're just going to take it. Come over here, slap this baby right on. Okay, get this lined up here. And boom. And it's that simple. That's simple, guys, okay? And then all you gotta do is take your nut, your washer, put it back on there, and tighten it up. Now, if you want, you can put a little Loctite on these things. It really doesn't matter because whenever you're riding your bike, your gear is going to go this way, okay? And these threads go this way. So what happens is this thing automatically tightens up as you're riding, okay? So it's not super important to really have, it's not going to come loose, guys, is what I'm trying to say. It's just not going to come loose. But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to slap a tad of Loctite on it just to be sure, but I don't really think you need it, in all honesty, guys. I don't think you really need it at all. This is why having a power drill is so nice. All right. Now we're going to torque that down once we get the chain on and everything, but we don't need to right now, okay? You could try to torque it down a different way, but honestly, I would recommend you get the chain on this thing before you go trying to do all that. All right? We're not going to put the cover on until later on. So now what we got to do, and this has to be tightened down to 40 foot-pounds of torque. So now we're at the rear of the bike, okay? What we want to do now is we want to take off this axle nut. Now this thing is actually tightened down to 83 foot-pounds of torque. Doesn't really matter when you're taking it off, right? And this is why I like to use a big old 1/2 inch drive ratchet, because you got a nice long shaft to give you a lot of leverage to be able to take this thing off. There we go. Okay, no problem, no problem. Now what you need is a rubber mallet, guys. You really want something underneath the tire so it doesn't want to just fall down, because right now the axle can be a little bit of a annoying thing to take out. Now we're just going to lightly tap this. I don't want to go crazy. Just slowly move it out of there. And then you pull the shaft out. And voila, let's keep that right there. Okay, I'm gonna set that down there. Your brake's gonna be on here. Just slide that off, there you go, like so. And boom, you got the tire off the bike. And again, we're gonna use the big long ratchet here, because these babies are probably gonna be pretty damn tight. All right, take this off. And this sprocket will pop right off, guys, okay? You wanna leave all this intact here, okay? Take this baby off. Okay, we'll set it right here. Let's grab the other sprocket. Now the way this works is you want your vortex, it only shows on one side. You want that facing out. Put that on there, boom, perfect fit. Now we're gonna tighten all these back on. Put some Loctite in each of these. Now tighten them all down. Okay, each one of these bolts has to be torqued down to 47 foot-pounds of torque. Now there's a little marking, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little marking right here that they should always be pointed outwards. This is what the manual recommends, but I'm not really sure how much it really matters. So we're gonna be trying to make sure that these little markings do point outwards whenever we tighten these down. But again, 47 foot-pounds of torque is what we're actually looking for. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my torque wrench here. All right, so we got 47 foot-pounds of torque. Now we get to put the tire back on the bike. When you're putting your tire back on, it's hard to see, but there's a little bracket here where your brake caliper actually has to slide across. Like so. And I'm gonna try to aim it for you guys where you can see it a little bit, but you see the right there, we want to slide that thing in there, okay? We got it started. We just want to make sure there we go, there we go. Okay. And booyah! This is gonna go over here. We're gonna put that over top of there. And then we're gonna put that nut back on there. All right, now that we got the tire back on, everything's all together, what we need to do is we need to set the tire in a certain position. Now, a good safe spot, guys, is pretty much right in the middle of here. That's a good safe spot. In fact, in the middle or maybe even a little bit more. So if I push this all the way up, right, I haven't adjusted these at all. You can see that we actually can go quite a bit more up this way. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna loosen up this here, and then I'm gonna back this up a bit more. I'm probably gonna go a good 1/4 of an inch. So if you look really closely, if you look really closely here, you can see the mark here. This edge is right with that mark. So I want this edge at this mark right here. And I think that's gonna be a really good starting position because that's gonna give me a lot of leeway. You guys can see we got quite a bit of room even back here still. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. This is a 12 millimeter and this is a 10. All right, guys, so after some adjustments, you can see that the back end here is to the second notch. And if we go to the other side, pushed all the way up, kind of hard to maybe see. I'm not sure, can I get this over here a little bit? See, the back end here is to the second notch. So we pretty much got our tire where we want it. So now what we need to do is put the chain on. So I'm gonna set the chain on top of here. And you want to run it. Now, some people, they go ahead and clean up these chains. We're gonna try to funnel it through here. Okay. So the chain is on, guys. We're gonna have to put the link on back here, but first we wanna make sure that we don't cut off too much of the chain or anything like that. So what we're gonna do is with it set all the way, with the chain, with the tire adjusted all the way up to here, we're gonna see how much slack we have. Now, on these particular bikes, you should have anywhere from 1.1/8 to 1 3/8 slack from the bottom, okay? So what you're trying to do is you wanna take a tape measure, and this is why I mentioned earlier that you're gonna need a tape measure. Get you a tape measure. They also make tools for this, but a tape measure, I figure it'd be just a lot easier for you guys. And what you want to do is you want to go right in the middle, okay? All right, so right now you see it's about 3 inches. When I lift this thing up, there's a lot of slack. And when I pull it back, she's going to be about where it was before when I had the old chain. I don't really want that. I want it kind of a little bit more forward. So what I need to do is I need to adjust my adjusters and move the tire forward this way a little bit more. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Here, we still got a little bit of adjustment here that we can actually go backward, and definitely a lot of adjustment go forward. And if you guys look, the back end of this is actually at 2 notches over, right? And it's the same on the other side. And that's pretty much what I predicted I would have had to do anyways. And it looks like that's what I will do. So we're gonna go ahead and check the slack. Just a quick rough estimate of the slack. Again, 1.125 to 1 3/8 on these bikes. And you measure from here from the center of the axle to the center of the gear here. You wanna be right around in the middle, okay? So when we get in the middle, she's about 2 1/4. Now the moment you lift this thing up, when you see the top here raised, that's when you need to stop. 1 1/4. There's an inch. It's pretty close, right? We got plenty of adjustment. We can go backwards. So I think that we're pretty good as far as what we're gonna do. Now this chain is 120 links. And honestly, guys, if you're gonna do this, you really should do it the way I showed you. Do not just assume that because I'm gonna cut off a certain amount of these, that's what you should do too, okay? Take this pin, we're gonna shove it out like we did earlier, and then we're gonna put the master link in here. All right, so this is your master link. This is gonna be riveted on. We're gonna use the same kit that we did. You see we got the 4 rubber O-rings, okay? And whenever you put these little O-rings on, you wanna make sure that you put a little bit of that grease that they give you on those O-rings. So let's go ahead and do that right now. I'm not using my gloves right now because these are really small, intricate parts. This little guy here, we're gonna put some grease around it, slap it on like so. And then you're gonna take this baby and you're gonna slide it right through here. There you go. Boom. Okay. Now you wanna do the same thing. We're gonna put a little oil on here, and we're gonna kind of surround it there. This is gonna help keep the O-ring on there. Okay, so we're gonna slap on the O-ring. There we go. All right. And then we're gonna put on the last piece. Okay. Now it comes time to break out the tool. And for this job, all you need is this little guy right here, okay? There's nothing in the inside of here like earlier where we had a spring and so on. There's nothing on top. You don't need any of that. What you do need to do is take these little plates here, these little plates here. This one here is gonna go on the back side. So literally you're gonna put it right in there, okay? Right in there. And then you're gonna take the other one, the one that has 2 holes in it, and you're gonna put it on the other side like so. Now you need to be real patient whenever you're doing this because you could easily crush your pins, and you do not, and I repeat, you do not want to do that. Lined up as best we can. So right now what you're trying to do, guys, is you want to get this flush. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want to bend these just yet. Okay, now again, I don't want to go too crazy. We don't want to go too tight. You see how it's looking almost flush now? We can go a little bit more. We can go a little bit more. We are flush. Now we need to be very, very careful because what we want to do is whenever we put this one here on the one side, we want to make sure that we can see clearly both these holes. That way when we push it forward, these guys will go through these holes here and we won't damage the link. That's we need to be really, really careful with that. You can see that we have done pretty well. We're right around these, which is exactly what we should be. Now, when you rivet, guys, if you have the Motion Pro kit like me, you're going to use this guy right here for your rivet. So let me show you how to put this Motion Pro together for this. So you're going to have this little guy right here, and what you want to do is you want to take your rivet piece here. You want to put your spring over top of it like so. Have your spring over top of it. And then you're going to take this little guy right here and you're going to shove this right in the inside, just like so. And then you're going to take your end here, your push piece, and screw that in, okay? Then you're going to take this little guy, which is your anvil. This is what it looks like. There's only one piece in the kit called an anvil. And you're going to put it right down at the bottom, just like so. And that's how this thing's going to look. And you want this insert around the back side of the chain here, like so. And you're going to screw this in. Now, you want to make sure that you do have this piece and this piece guided around the actual pin, okay? Otherwise, it can go and get pretty wacky. Just like so, okay? Then we screw this in. Okay, now here you gotta be real careful. We do not wanna give it too much. We wanna be extremely careful with this. Now again, I don't wanna go too crazy. I'm just gonna tighten it a little bit. This is my first time doing this, so I wanna be extremely careful. We do not wanna destroy this chain. I would be freaking pissed. All right, so you're trying to spread this out is what you're trying to do, and you want to spread out as much as these, okay? So we're gonna do that again. We need to go a little bit further. And this is just one of those things you're gonna go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on. Okay, now we're gonna do this one here a little bit. Just kind of go back and forth between these guys. All right, guys, so after some finagling, I do believe we pretty much got it. So if I measure the distance from the outside of the link to the outside of the link, we have 3.58 is what it looks like. 3.58. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay. And then if I measure the one that I just put on, all right, we want to see what it is. It is 3.54. So that is about as close as you can get from the distance of the outside to the link to the outside. So it should be pretty much good to go. My O-ring should be good. Everything should be fine. I've also went ahead and took the liberty of going ahead and adjusting the tension on the chain with my adjusters on both sides here. I mean, you guys don't really need to see that. You know how to do that, right? We've already shown kind of how to do that. But again, on this bike, you want it to be about 1.125 to 1.25 inches. You go from the center of here to the center of the axle, about right in the middle. And okay, and you want to raise it up, and whenever that top moves up, that's when you know you went too far. So we're at about 1.75 inches, something like that, to the bottom here. We go up, boom, right there. So it looks like we're about an inch of play there, which is actually slightly tight. But this thing will stretch as you ride a little bit, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave it and run with it. Now what we need to do now is I've already got my adjuster set. We just need to torque down the axle on the other side, okay? And this thing does need to be torqued at 83 foot-pounds of torque. I've already got my torque wrench set up. We're gonna go ahead and get this baby set up here. There we go. We need to torque this gear right here. Okay, now we need to torque this. This has to be 40 foot-pounds of torque. Put that in there. Put my foot on the brake. There we go. The bike should be done now. That should be everything that I need to do. We may have to adjust the chain afterwards. I got to put this cover back on, which is pretty simple for the most part. All right, now we're going to put this back in. I'm going to put a little Loctite on the bolt here. Just getting snug, guys, and there we go. And that's pretty much how you install a 520 conversion kit, or just change your sprockets and chain on a 2003 to 2006 CBR600RR. The next video, guys, we'll be reviewing it and checking out. Hopefully I did everything really well. I'm probably going to get a second opinion from, oh, I'm sorry that this is going down. My battery's going dead. I'll probably get a second opinion about my master link. But guys, let me know how y'all doing. Let me know if this helps you out, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See you, everybody. Take care.